Hello everyone. So 1914 to 1918 was the time of World War I, and hence after World War I ending, it was realized by most of the countries of the world that we need to create one international organization which can stop, which can prevent such future wars to happen. And hence with this objective in 1920, one international organization was created and was named as League of Nations. League of Nations. Objective was to prevent the future wars, right? But despite initial success, League of Nations could not prevent a future world war, a next world war. And if you all must be knowing that 1939 to 45 was the time of World War II, right? It was seen as failure of League of Nations, and hence after World War II, a new organization was created with the similar objective but a different structure. Objective was same, to stop or to ensure peace in the world, and the new organization which was created in 1945 is called as United Nations. Within United Nations also there was one very specific organ was created to ensure peace in the world, to ensure safety and security of the world. That organization is called as United Nations Security Council. In today's video, we are going to discuss the demand for reforms in UNSC. There are some reasons why there is demand for reforms. So, we will be discussing why there is demand, then we will be seeing what kind of reforms can be done, then we will be seeing what India wants, what is the stand of India regarding UNSC reforms, and then in the end we will be discussing the challenges in basically implementing those reforms. So let's begin with what is UNSC, what is the structure of UNSC. So UNSC, it is a body of 15 countries, 15 members. Out of these 15, there are 5 members which are permanent to UNSC, and these are very 5 elite members of the UN. And there are 10 members of UNSC which are non-permanent member of UNSC. The 5 permanent members of the UN are those which were victorious in World War II when UN was created. So which are those 5 members? One is United States of America, USA. Another is Russia. Third one is France. Fourth is United Kingdom, and the last one is China. And then there are 10 non-permanent members whose membership or whose duration is of 2 years. After every 2 years, there will be elections for these 10 seats, and new members will be elected, right? The next very important thing which you should be knowing is that these 5 permanent members, they have been given a very special power, a very privileged power, which is called as veto power. Only these 5 permanent members have veto. These 10 non-permanent members, they don't have veto. What does veto means? Veto means a negative vote. Meaning, let's say out of these 15 members, even if 14 are in favor of a particular resolution, but one of the 5 permanent members use veto power, then that resolution cannot be passed. I hope it is clear. Veto means a negative vote. If it is used by any of these 5 members, that resolution cannot be passed. So it is a very special power which only these 5 countries of the world they have. So I hope structure of UNSC is clear. It consists of 15 members. Now the next thing is why there is demand for reforms in UNSC. So you see, in last few decades, what we have seen is many times many international laws have been violated, but UNSC is seen as helpless to act against the perpetrators or to act against the violators, because the basic reason is most of the times those violators are one of these 5 P5 countries, the permanent 5 countries. For example, in the recent Russia-Ukraine war or Israel-Hamas conflict, we are seeing that there are so many civilians being killed. There is so much of civilian infrastructure getting demolished, getting damaged, which is against all the international laws, against all humanitarian principles, but UN or UNSC is not able to stop these things. So the first reason why this need to reform is कि many international laws are being violated, but UNSC is not able to act. The next reason for reforms in UNSC is that UNSC it does not represent the reality of present time. So we have seen that the 5 countries which have been given permanent seat into UNSC are those which were victorious in World War II. They were very influential in 1940s, 1950s. But now scenario has changed. There are many new countries which have emerged economically, militarily or soft power wise as well. But those countries have not been given a permanent place in UNSC. That is the another reason. The third reason is there is lack of representation of global south into UNSC. So developing countries, they have not been given place into permanent members of UNSC. Especially if you see, there is no representation from Africa in those 5 countries. There is no representation from Latin America or South America into UNSC's permanent members. And hence, because of these reasons, there is demand for reforms in UNSC. Now let's discuss what kind of reforms can be brought into UNSC. The first reform which is suggested by experts is, or which is demanded by many countries is, let's expand the size of UNSC. So UNSC, which right now consists of 15 members, 5 permanent, 10 non-permanent. Many countries they demand for the expansion of both permanent members as well as non-permanent members. Countries like India, they want to be included into permanent members of UNSC. So that is the first, so that the representation of various parts of the world, various regions of the world can be incorporated into UNSC. The second reform which is asked by many countries is that the very special privilege which has been given to these 5 permanent countries, that is of veto power, that should be taken away, because veto power, it is against the principle of democracy. How come a single country can stop a resolution which is supported by rest of the 14 countries of UNSC, right? So many experts they say another reform which can be brought into UNSC is no country should have veto power, right? So these were the reforms demanded. Now let's see what is India's stand. So India says India should be given a place into permanent members of UNSC. India gives some reasons also, some arguments also for its inclusion into permanent members. So the first reason which India gives is that India is most populous country of the world. The population of India is nearly 1.4 billion. If India is given a place into UNSC, the 1.4 billion population of the world will have a direct say into security related matters of the world. The second thing is India is not a monarchy, India is a democratic country. India believes in democratic values, and hence in the decision making also in UNSC there will be democratic values will be used, or India will be taking decisions on the basis of democratic values. So that is another reason. The third reason why India demands is that India it has contributed heavily till now, since 1945 till now, in the UN's peacekeeping missions. So whenever UN sends its peacekeeping force, India has sent the maximum number of its army officials into UN's operations outside India, right? So India it has been the biggest contributor into UN's peacekeeping missions, and hence India says we are a responsible country, we are a country which believes in UN, we have contributed so much to UN. Then the next reason is India is a emerging economy. So in 1945 India's economy might be very poor, but now India is 5th largest economy of the world in terms of GDP, and now very soon India will become the 3rd biggest GDP or economy of the world, and hence India should be given its fair share into global bodies as well. And the last reason is that India is a voice of global south, as we have seen that in UNSC the representation of global south developing countries is not there. If India is included, we will be having voice of global south as well into UNSC. So these are the reasons why India says India should be given a place into permanent members of UNSC. But then it is not very easy to bring these changes into UNSC. There are so many challenges with respect to reforms in UNSC. So let's discuss those challenges as well. The first challenge is that these P5 countries which have been given veto power and permanent seat into UNSC, these are the most influential countries of the world. Not just in those times, even now they wield a significant influence. If from these countries the privileges like veto or permanent membership are taken, there are high chances that these countries will lose interest into UN itself. They might UN as well. If these countries they leave UN, if these countries they lose interest in UN itself will become defunct, right? And these countries then later on can act anyhow in any manner according to their national interest only. Without UN, it will be very difficult to put them into check. So firstly, we want to have these countries as part of UN only, and for these countries to remain part of UN, we need to give them some privileges. That is one reason. Another is there is no consensus that on what basis the new members of UN should be added. So many countries they demand for permanent membership to UNSC, but what should be the basis? Which country should be given a place? For example, some countries, some experts they say that the countries which are democratic, they should only be given the place in UNSC. There are some experts which say that the countries which are very big in terms of economy, there are some say the countries which are militarily very powerful. So there are so many basis on which experts they say can be taken into factor while deciding which country to be given a place into UNSC, but there is no consensus, because if a particular factor might suit to one country but not to other country, factor number 2 might suit but not the factor number 1, and hence there is no such consensus till now, and anyhow there is reluctance on part of the existing P5 countries over expansion of UNSC. Then the third challenge for bringing reforms into UNSC is that there is no consensus on the names of the country, which particular country should be included. For example, India says India want to become a permanent member of UNSC, but then there are some countries which don't want India to be seen as a permanent member. The biggest example is Pakistan, right? So whenever India raised this issue, Pakistan opposes to it. There are many countries which are wary of India being a nuclear power as well. India along with few other countries, namely Japan, Germany and Brazil, are together demanding, these group of countries they are called as G4, they together are demanding for permanent membership of UNSC, right? But same as India, which has an opponent in the name of Pakistan, these countries also are being opposed by few other countries, and hence again, because there is no consensus on the names of the country, the expansion of UNSC is a distant goal, right? So there are so many challenges with respect to bringing reforms in UNSC. The biggest one will be reluctance of the existing permanent 5 members of the UNSC. So I hope through this video you have understood all the dimensions of the reforms into UNSC. What is UNSC? What does it do? Why do we need to bring reforms into UNSC? What is India's stand over this particular issue, and what are the challenges in bringing reforms? I hope you have liked this video. Thank you so much for watching it.